Sai Ram, offering my most prayerful salutations at the feet of my beloved Lord, praying for His guidance for yet another energizing satsang in this quest of the self that we have embarked on this weekend. We spoke of self-confidence yesterday. We contemplated on, a little louder? Okay. We spoke of self-confidence last evening. We contemplated on self-satisfaction this afternoon. Baba would say self-confidence is the very foundation when you build this house of spirituality. Self-satisfaction are like the pillars. And the third one that becomes the walls and the windows and the doors is self-sacrifice. Before I begin self-sacrifice, as the bhajans were going on, I noticed you had also in your satsang, I was contemplating on the topics that you all have done over the last few weeks. And it ties into what we just discussed earlier about what goes into our system by way of food. And I think and Swami has mentioned this in many ways, very often, it's not the food that you eat, watch what you see, what you hear, what you smell, taste, touch, everything is food going into your body. And I know you all discussed watch as a concept of study. You took it up for studying. Swami says, I give you watch. All of you have a watch given by me. What is that? WATCH. He uses that as an acronym for watch your words. Watch your words is the words that you speak, the words that you listen to as well. So words is sound. What element is that? The ether. So he is once again pointing that is an equally important element that goes into your system. So watch your words. Watch your actions. Your actions are gross, physical actions. That is the earth element. Pay attention to that. Watch your thoughts. Your thoughts is the air element. The mind wavers because of the air that blows the stillness of a candle. Thoughts are directly related to the air element. If you have racing thought syndrome, if you just suddenly get into a worry, a spate of worry because your child has not called you, and then you just go and you just can't control the amount of imagination just comes flooding you, then that's called a racing thought syndrome. That's because of an imbalance of air element in your body. Watch your thoughts. Are you getting excessively angry? Do you get irritable? And does that translate itself into a word and you disturb the ether by saying something which could hurt somebody? Or what kind of TV shows that you watch and what kind of violence and music and what gets into your system through that ether. So all of this is word, the sound. The actions that you indulge in or not indulge in. Being very lazy is also action. Inaction is also bad. Thoughts. How disturbing are your thoughts? How slow, how steady are your thoughts? What is the quality of your thoughts? Watch that. Watch your character. Watch your character. And watch your heart. That is the water element, emotions. Watch your heart. So you have watch your actions, watch your words. You have watch your words, watch your actions, watch your thoughts, watch your character, watch your heart. You have the ether, you have the action that is the earth, you have the thoughts that is the air, you have, what else is left? Fire. Fire, that is your character, and watch your heart, which is your emotions. So you have all of these elements that you pay attention to, and therefore you're once again in tune with the cosmos. None of these spiritual concepts that we discussed today are in watertight compartments. They're not unrelated to each other. They're all very, very closely related. In self-sacrifice, it is the very same thing. If I sacrifice my little wants and desires for attaining the higher self, I'm already in that realm of self-sacrifice. What does that mean? We boys were sitting at Swami's feet, and I learned this lesson in many ways. I'll share two of those stories with you all. One you probably have not heard, and one you probably have. We were sitting at Swami's feet once in Bangalore, in Brindavan, and there was a devotee of Swami, a lady, an old elderly person, devotee of many years, and Swami was praising her devotion to us. Swami said, you don't know, and when Swami describes some of the quote-unquote miracles that take place in people's house, he becomes like a child. It's very, and we haven't seen much of that of Swami, very rarely. I've probably seen this, is the only time I remember, well, two times. So this time particularly, Swami is explaining to us, in our house, Vibhuti comes, You're like, what do you mean? Photo anta Vibhuti vasthayi. Chandanam vastundi, kunkumam vastundi, anni vastundi. He is excited. In our house, Chandan comes, Kumkum comes, Vibhuti comes in our house. Very devoted, very devoted. He's happy as if it's somebody else he's praising. It's a very childlike innocence when he does that. And there was once this other incident, before I come back to the story. Professor Jagdishan, or Dr. Jagdishan, had written the book, Journey to God, Part 1. I think it was 1981 or 82 when the book first came out. And so the copy of that book was in Swami's table when I was in that room. And we were pressing Swami's feet one night. Swami was going through that book. Suddenly he said, see. See honey coming from statues in Singapore. There's Malaysia. Look at this. Hey, look at this. Really, I can't act like Swami. But there was, we smiled, but he was so excited to see, my gosh, this is really happening. I can't believe it, kind of there was such a childish innocence in that. I can't place a finger on that. He didn't say, see what I'm doing, you learn. No, see, what all is happening outside. So many pictures in this book. A very childlike, as if, wow, it clicked. I tried something and it worked. How else can you describe that innocence? Anyway, so in that evening, so there's a profound messages behind these as well. And so that evening, Swami was praising this lady and her devotion and her altar and all the leelas that take place. And she's many years devotees. And then he said, she had my darshan also. In her room, in her altar. I wasn't Puttaparthi, but she got my darshan. Tell them that story. So this lady said, oh, Swami. And then that is how she came to Swami, or in the very early stages of Swami. I don't remember clearly. So she turned around and told us the story as to how she was new to Swami. Her neighbor was Baba's devotee. And so she used to go there for bhajans regularly. And having been exposed to Swami for a little bit, she became a devotee. And then she decided, I will also set up an altar. And I'll also do bhajans. But she said, my main motivation was, in their house, there was a lot of vibhuti and kungam would manifest. A lot of manifestations would take place. Now, for those of you who don't know, this is something I have not been exposed to directly very often. I have seen one or two instances of this because we spend most of our time in Puttaparthi. But outside, there are devotees' homes where vibhuti will simply manifest out of pictures. Idols would simply manifest out of pictures for no rhyme or reason. And devotees would just give it to people who visit their home. I have seen quite a few of these homes, and it's fascinating to see another aspect of this mysterious personality whose name and form we know as Sai Baba. However, this lady said, there is vibhuti manifesting in their house, so if I have in my house, my friends can also see this happening in my house. She just took it for granted. It happens everywhere. You keep Swami's picture and have bhajans, it should happen. So she set up an altar in her house, a bigger altar, because she could afford more. She says, I made a bigger altar, make sure that Baba would enjoy this presence, and then she also started doing bhajans on the same day as her neighbor did, so that now she'll get people in her house and her house will have vibhuti. And she did this for a few weeks, and to her dismay, there's not a sign of vibhuti or a speck of vibhuti on the picture. And she became very adamant. She said, what is this, Baba? You say you're omnipresent, and I want you to come to my house. and you haven't come to my house. There are stages I guess, in our path where um, I wouldn't want to judge and say there's a lower stage or higher stage, but just different stages. Where certain stages, Baba guides you. And when you're ready for another stage, he just lets you learn on your own, right? So this lady wanted that miracle in her house, wanted that. She wanted that miracle to happen in her house. She wanted to feel Baba's presence in her house. And her way of understanding Baba's presence was, if there was a manifestation of Vibhuti and something flashy happened, then I know Baba was here. And so she said, I spent weeks praying, nothing happened. And one day after a grand bhajan, she said, I was so upset with Baba. She said, I am not getting out of this room till you manifest yourself. So she told her husband and her children, I'm not coming out of this room. If I have to die, I will die, but I will make sure he comes. How dare he not come to my house? She was on a path of war. I think her Agni element was awakened. She shut the door and she said, I sat down in front of Baba's chair and started chanting Om Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Babaya Namaha. At this point, Swami could continue. 3 days she chanted. She said, Baba, let me tell the story. So Baba is so eager for her to finish the story. Again, very childlike Swami. So 3 days continuously, no food, no water. Swami interfered and said the story so fast. She said, Swami, let me tell the story. And then she said, of course, you know now, 3 days I chanted Om Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Babaya Namaha. And the 4th day morning, or the 3rd day morning, I'm not sure, but it was 3 days. And then on the early morning, when I could barely speak, I could barely even think because I was consistently on that place without moving, I saw Baba's figure sitting on the chair. And Baba was very happy. He says, that's how I give darshan. That's how I gave darshan. So he was very excited about that story. He says, good devotee, good devotee. And then he turned to us and he said, you know why it took 3 days for her to see me? Why couldn't you see me in the first day? What happened in the 3 days? Swami said, she first started with a list of desires. Swami should come to my house, he should manifest vibhuti, there should be kumkum in the house, that prasadam is there, that prasadam should be eaten. She's looking for fingerprints in the prasadam. And so all the things that she had heard of and seen, she wanted all that happen in her house. So Swami said she had a laundry list in front of me. She was not calling me. She was thinking about her house, her altar. But as the mantra, as she chanted Swami's name, kept on chanting Swami's name, by the 3rd day she forgot why is it she was chanting. And then Swami manifested. So I think there's a very profound meaning here. Self-sacrifice is you give up the very thing you want and it will manifest. You give it up. You give up your very self and lo and behold, the higher self is already there. We don't have to go anywhere or develop or raise this higher self somehow. It's not hidden somewhere. We just have to sacrifice a little self. And lo and behold, we see the higher self there. Baba said, I was always there. She saw me because she forgot why. No reason for love. No season for love. No birth. No death. We have all heard this anecdote. Many devotees have said this. Baba has said this many times. When you go to Baba and say, I want peace, what does Baba say? Of course, I will give you peace. First, remove the I. Then remove the want. As we discussed, sealing on desires. When you say, I want, you'll be kept wanting peace forever. Remove the want. What is left is peace. It's already there. But we bring in the I, we bring in the want, and we push peace away. How profound is that? So to me, self-sacrifice is right there. And this, when I understand self-sacrifice, I understand it as earning the value. These are all we earn these values, human values from Swami. He gives us as a gift when you practice sadhana. The earning the value of shanti or peace. When you give up the one thing that is you're craving for, you have peace. Because it is already manifested. You're not craving for it anymore. And your heart is filled with peace. The way I learned this, and it ties in with the concept of prayer, because when we talk of prayer, we often end up asking. This lady has a laundry list of, I want you to do this, I want you to do this, I want you to do this. And Baba was not there when she had this asking agenda, when she forgot to ask, when she literally lost herself in the chant, then that thing manifested itself. Before I go to my story and before I forget, that is the power of the Vedantic mantras. When we talk of the ether, in the ether, the actual manifestation takes place, and then it percolates down the five elements, and you see it in the physical form in the earth element. It's already manifested in the ether. The mantras are so powerful, the Bijaksharas mantras. Om, for example, is the most powerful mantra, the only mantra you probably need to know. But then when you ask about what about the other mantras, we say Om, Aim, Hreem, Shreem. So how are these? I mean, these are just names, these are sounds. How can they be powerful? They mean, Aim means intelligence. Shreem, abundance. Hreem, energy, power. Now, in these words, there is no I, there is no want. You're contemplating purely on that energy of abundance. You're not saying, I want that abundance, or I'm lacking it, please give it to me, oh God, bless me. When you see the English translations of most of the English translations of Gayatri Mantra, they say, oh, please God, bless me with higher intelligence. There is no, oh God, no, please, no me, nothing. It is pure dhiyo yo nah prachodayat. There is no please give us. The na is us. It's a community prayer. It's us. Already your consciousness is merged with us. There's no I there at all. So it becomes a very powerful prayer. And you allow the dhi, the prachodaya, the intelligence to be illumined. You simply allow it to happen when you chant the prayer. Om bhur bhuvaswaha. So you're taking your mind beyond the bhur, bhuva, and swa, or beyond the gross astral and causal worlds. Those are the three basic worlds out of the seven worlds. Bhur, bhuva, swaha, maha, janaha, tapaha, satyam. There are seven worlds. So beyond the three basic worlds, that's like a short form of all the seven worlds. Just like we say, etc., etc. So they say, Om bhur, bhuva, swaha. And traditionally, they say, Om bhuhu, Om bhuvah, Om swaha, Om maha, Om janaha, Om tapaha, Om satyam, Om tat. The tat that is beyond all the savituhu, the divine effulgent sun. Savita is a name. Varenyam, worthy of respect. There's no I yet here. Huh? No, please give me, nothing. You're just meditating now. You're taking your mind beyond the lower worlds, meditating on Savitu, Varenyam, Bhargo, brilliance, Devasya, that Deva. Now you're in that brilliant Deva. Dhimahi, Dhimahi. Contemplate on that. I contemplate on that. Dhiyo yo nah prachodayat. May that illumination, may that illumine the intellect. That may that illumine is again our English interpretation, just because we want to make sense of that. But in Sanskrit, it is simply a manifestation of the illumination. Because there, once you meditate on that brilliant Deva, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo, and then you are explaining the experience of that meditation. Dhiyo yo na prachodayat. My intellect is now illumined. So there's no give me, please give me, I beg of you, nothing. So that is why Gayatri Mantra is a very powerful mantra, because you're allowing that manifestation to happen again and again and again. So many of these mantras, where there is no I involved, where there is no wanting involved, where you're purely losing yourself in the meditation of the form and the quality, that quality presents itself to you. That is why we chant 108 names of Swami. Where is the I in that? There is no I, there's no aham in any of the 108 names. Om Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Babaya Namaha. Om Sri Sai Satya Swarupaya Namaha. Om Sri Sai Satya Dharma Parayanaya Namaha. It's all praising him, praising him, praising him. What happens when you praise him, you forget yourself. You're lost in that qualities of the divine. And then that divine qualities automatically enter you. Salokya, Sarupya, Samipya, and Sayujya. You enter the world of God. You take a name and form and lose yourself in that name and form. Sarupya, Samipya, that brings you closer. And then you merge with that form, you become one with that form. That form begins to flow through you. That energy of God begins to flow through you. And then you begin to say, I am an instrument of thy peace. So self-sacrifice is so profound because you sacrifice your lower self. You let go and allow the higher self to take over. I brought the concept of prayer because in prayer, the way most of us or many of us think about prayer is a big list of what we want. And so we become so important in that prayer that God is way out there. Swami, this is what I want. Please make sure my job, please make sure whatever it is that we want, we just make that such a big issue that God is way out there. He's saying, all right, please, can I enter your home? Wait, Swami, I've got so many things to do. Please make sure this is all falls in place. Because of our fear of losing it, we want to hold on to that. We convert that into a prayer and make that wanting a reality. So we are kept wanting. So devotion, instead of empowering us, weakens us. Instead of empowering us, we become weak as devotees, thinking there is some power and somehow has overtaken my life and is testing me. Once I wrote to Swami, you're testing me too much, and then Swami was very angry with me. He sent word through Professor Nanjunde. Ask him, what is this test I'm doing? I myself don't know where I'm testing him. You have to pitch like a test antunadu. Where am I testing? I'm not the examiner. Why am I testing? I don't have to test him. His imagination. His hysteria that he's imagining these things. So we imagine all this drama, because God is just patiently waiting, saying, hello, let me do it. If you want me to do, just get out of the way and allow me. Let go and let God. Correct? So self-sacrifice is that. So there was this instance when I learned this very beautifully, and you have probably heard this if you have watched one of the Soljan's videos and other videos. One of my most favorite stories. When Swami came to the hostel one Sunday and he spoke about Soham pranayama. He spoke very beautifully about how important it is for us. With every breath, we actually, in our very breathing, we embody the Vedantic truth. What is the Vedantic truth? That I am, that I am, that I am. It's in your very breath. You just have to listen to that truth. When he spoke about mantra, he said, this is the greatest mantra that is in your breath itself. So when you breathe in, it's so. You breathe in the that. And when that fills you, what happens to the I am? Exhales. The I am goes away. So hum. So hum. So in yogic practice, actually, when we work on all the different koshas, the Vijnanamaya kosha, when you in an asana, in a pose, you can achieve touch all the 5 koshas. We don't have time to get into that even tomorrow. But just to give an idea, in that Vijnanamaya kosha, in the pose, when you breathe, you bring in Soham concept. Now you're in the pose, what do? You bring in Soham in every pose. When you're the frog, you say Soham. When you're the snake, you say Snoham. When you're the camel, you say Snoham. When you're a warrior, you say Snoham. When you're a triangle, you say Soham. When you're a tree, you say Soham. So your consciousness merges into every single part of creation. And every creation says, that I am, that I am, that I am. So it's a very profound way to practice yoga and have it affect all the 5 koshas. That's how it was traditionally practiced, to expand your consciousness. So the self is sacrificed, and the higher self presents itself, and all you sit and enjoy is a darshan. So when Swami came and spoke about Soham, and he explained it so beautifully, because I was practicing yoga, I was very excited about this concept. I was very new. I was looking for every little word Swami would mention about either breathing or meditation or chanting or something, and I would say, oh my gosh, I will do that. That's my sadhana. I was very excited. This newfound path of mine. And so I said, all right, I'm going to practice Soham. And just like this lady did, some crazy thought came to my mind. I said, today is a Sunday, and Thursday is our class will go for darshan. Because when you see boys running towards the darshan line in Puttaparthi, you see a bunch of white clothes boys in white clothes running. It's not the same boys that come every day in the first line. Every grade has a chance to rotate. So we would get our chance. I calculated that would be a Thursday. So I have 3 days to practice Soham. And Thursday, I'll go sit right in the front, and maybe Swami will show me some indication as to, yes, good boy, you did something. Keep it up. I was desperately looking for those little guidances. And so for the next 3 days, I practiced Soham as sincere as I could. I didn't speak to anyone. I barely ate. I was constantly contemplating on the Soham breath as much as I could. And at every passing day, I was very happy with my progress. And I said, somehow it got into my head that Swami has to show me a sign that he has accepted this sadhana of mine. And so at the end of the third day, I was very happy with my progress. So as I was walking to the darshan line that afternoon on Thursday, I made sure I was right in the front. As I was walking towards the mandir, I was thinking, Swami, you have to give me a really good sign. And, we as boys he would pass by us every day. So touching his feet was not a big thing for us. Forgive me. But I said, nah, you don't come and stand in front of me. And if I touch your feet, that's not a sign I want. I want something flashy. I want something out of the ordinary. I want something out of the ordinary. Don't give me just give me a look and go. That you do every day. Or come and stand, you do every day. Or you hit the knee and go, that you do almost every day. It was not those kind of things. I want something very different. I didn't know what it was. I said something for my Soham pranayama. I practiced real hard. So please, I want encouragement. So do it. Something unique, something out of the ordinary. I didn't know what to ask. And so I was very confident it's going to happen, because now I'm sitting right in the front next to the birthday boy. How can he miss it? How can it not happen? And so darshan time comes, I am sitting next to next to this birthday boy, and eagerly waiting for Swami practicing the Soham. But by then, the Soham has kind of died down. It's more excitement now. My gosh, he's actually going to do something. What is he going to do? And so Swami comes out for darshan. And when you really want something, it always seems like he works in slow motion, right? So he came out slowly to the birthday boy. He spoke to the birthday boy right next to me. He picks up the chocolates and he throws it at everyone. Nothing falls on me or anywhere close by. But I said, that's okay. I didn't want those kind of signs anyway. So I'm unperturbed there. I'm eagerly waiting for Swami to tell me something or do something. But he looks everywhere around me, and he turns and goes out for darshan. And that's when it hit me. I'm like, wow, wait a minute. He didn't even look at me. Things which I took for granted, it's complete. That's when it struck me, what? Wait a minute. He didn't even look at me. He's gone for darshan. And as the darshan progressed, and Swami seemed to be really slow that day, ever so gracefully moving among his devotees, picking up a rather large group of devotees for interview, to my dismay. Because what happened would be, if it's a large group, Swami would spend 1.5 hours or so in the interview room. And by then, the bhajans would start. So I won't be able to sit in the front. I had to go to the bhajan hall to sing or be part of that group. I just can't be sitting here. Once I go there and Swami is going to finish, sit in the chair, take arati and go, what about my sign? So I said, no, this can't happen. Once he comes back, at least there is a chance. There's a 2-minute, 3-minute window where he can do wonders. And so as I saw him, my prayers increased in intensity. The reason why I'm sharing it is sometimes we get that emotional drama, that intense prayer, and we think we are praying intensely. Well, we're actually creating so much static around ourselves. That's the lesson I want to share with you. That's what lesson I learned that day. And so as Swami finished, Swami is walking to the boys, and now I'm in the first line, the edge of the portico, Swami starts coming in. And I'm looking at Swami, I'm like, Swami, come on, please, Swami, come on, Swami, don't do this to me, don't ignore me. And then he comes and stands right in front of me. And he picks up, 2 rows behind, he picks up a boy to talk something. So I'm sitting down, and Swami is standing right in front of me. I could literally look into his nostrils, that close. And I'm thinking, all right, you know what? Just look at me. That's good enough for me. Because by then I realized this is not going anywhere. If he decides not to look at me, I'm like, what do I do? Did I do something wrong? It could throw me into some real confusion. I said, no, Swami, okay, at least look down at me. Swami, please, in mentally, sitting down and staring at him. Now, you don't have to be a god to know somebody's staring at you. You pass by and somebody's staring at you, you'll wonder, oh gosh, I don't know why that person is staring at me. It's common, and with somebody sitting right under you with like this, it's very obvious for somebody standing there to make, why is this boy staring at me? But it was very evident he didn't look at me. He took all his time to ask the boy where he came from, spoke about him to the VIPs, asked him to call his parents, and all that is taking place. Time is going past. It could have been a couple of minutes or 3 minutes, I don't know, because there I was completely immersed in, Swami, please, how can you not hear this prayer of mine? You're this close and you can't hear. Please, just look down, don't do anything, just look down. I practiced 3 days. I'm tired. I can't do this anymore. I can't do this Soham anymore. I can't build up that energy to do Soham again for you. Please show me a sign. Show me a sign. At least look down. I'll be happy. I don't want anything. I'm sorry I asked for something big. There was no sign of contact. As I share with you these stories, I relive those moments. So there was no sign of any recognition of me being there. He spoke to that boy. That boy apparently goes to the veranda side, and then Swami goes into the interview room, comes out, he picks up this whole crowd, and they are all going in. As they are, when Baba stand by the door, and he let them all go in, and the birthday boy is here, I'm there. So he is like this, looking at the devotees, waving his hands, and I'm still saying, Swami, please, please, just glance down, Swami. Just look at me 1 second, that is good enough. You completely ignored me. This is not fair. Don't do it. And all that was going on. In absolute intensity, he ignored me. He walked into the interview room, and to my utter horror and dismay, he shut the door. And as normally when he shuts the door, sometimes he shuts the door, and just before he shuts, he looks at the boys and he'll make a face. He'll go like this or something like that, which only the boys and Swami will know. Sometimes. So I thought, at least look, I don't want any of those other things. Just look, Swami, 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 Swami. Bang. The door shuts. At that moment, I always remember, at that moment, everything suddenly died down. After all that intense anxiety and prayer and emotion that I held, at that moment when I knew it was over, I just put my head down. I was fighting back my tears. I didn't want boys behind to say, hey, what happened to Sundar suddenly? Is he crying? It's not his birthday, or what happened? So I was fighting back my tears. I said, hold on. And then I vaguely remember boys getting up. This birthday boy got up with his tray. And because I wanted to hide my tears which were welling up in my eyes, I moved it's a corner of a pillar. It's a pillar corner. So you could just go and sit there. I cornered myself there and just wanted to take a couple of minutes breather before I would walk into the bhajan room. Because this is a big group. I know Swami won't come out. So that was a time I had given up, sitting quiet. And it would have taken about a minute and a half. Suddenly, the door opened. Suddenly, the interview room opened. And what happened next was so fast. The door opened, and I looked up. And then Swami came out, and he was looking at the ladies' side. Apparently, somebody in the group had forgotten to join the group. There's always a beautiful coincidence. He gives you that little scope to wonder, was it a coincidence or... But this was no coincidence at all. So he comes out, and he calls that lady, says, hey, lazy, come. So now he's standing back in that same place as the birthday boy. I'm sitting there. He's standing, and he's telling that lady to come, and the lady is walking. He's waiting and watching. Hey, lazy, where were you? And all that. And so the lady goes in, and just before he goes in, he turns around. He had materialized Vibhuti. And his fingertips had Vibhuti on them. So just before he went in, he turned around, and between my eyebrows, he put the Vibhuti, walked in to the room. The reason why this is such a powerful lesson for me is when I thought I was praying, when I thought I was conversing with God, when He was right in front of me, There was no interaction, no response, nothing whatsoever. And then when I gave up praying, when I shut myself and I literally gave up, I sacrificed that desire, not consciously, but because the circumstances were such, I said, this is not going to happen. I literally gave up. Lo and behold, boom, he comes out and he gives me that extraordinary sign. Not a look, not a namaskar, something I could have never asked for. Vibhuti on my forehead. That is the power of self-sacrifice. And though it is easy to say this, it's very difficult to actually consciously do something like this. Because if I'm conscious about my sacrifice, the self is very much there. So it has to be done in such a way that it pushes you to the very brink and you say, you know what, I give up. And that is actually what he wants you to do. Give up. Let go. Let go. And what is there will present itself to you. Don't hold on to it. We take ownership of our desire. When it is presented to us, Ichcha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, I say, right? Ichcha Shakti this is the divine energy. There is a purpose why a desire comes to us, is implanted in our mind. There is a purpose. There's a learning involved, whether it is for a good or bad is all the way we interpret it, but there's a learning involved. It's part of our journey. And so, when that desire comes, if we take ownership of it, we squeeze the desire. We hold it back from expressing itself. But if we take that desire and offer it to him, that is why in self-confidence yesterday, we were talking and I shared that perspective of take it and offer it to him. He said, you've given me this, you manifest it as and when you decide. I don't want ownership of this. And forget it, let go. So in deepest prayer, there is no asking. There is no asking. It is in silence. And in that silence, the word of God is revealed. Not as if the word comes and breaks the silence, but the silence itself reveals. In silence, it reveals the word of God. I had a chance to share this story exactly as I did now, without all this drama, of course, because Swami was sitting next to me. In Kodaikanal, in Swami's presence, I shared this story. And I said that's when I learned this profound lesson of Swami, where he says it's in the depth of silence that God's voice can be heard. And I shared that because at that moment when the interview room door shut, there was silence in me. I gave up. I couldn't. And when he came out again, I couldn't build up all that energy for prayer. I had even forgotten because this happened so fast. Suddenly he's there. I had not had the time to think, hey, wait, once again, get started with your prayer. Get the spark plug. Get it going again. I was too tired, too exhausted mentally. All I did was simply staring at him. There's complete silence, blankness, if you will, which you and I, or at least I, would interpret that as no prayer. But then that is where prayer actually happened. Your deepest desire was seen by him, and it manifested right there, because you are not in the picture. And so, it is in the depths of silence that the communication takes place, that the voice of God can be heard. I said that to Swami, and I sat down, touched his feet, and I was about to sit down, and Swami looked at me, and he repeated that his own quote again. He said, "It is in the depths of silence that the voice of God can be heard." Manchidi Mangaru, but, oh, there's a but. I thought that was the end of the quote. What is the new but coming in now? But it is in the same silence. God can also hear your voice. We see it as the voice of God can be heard. I can hear God's voice. But God is telling me now, it is in that silence God can also hear your voice. So he made it very clear, it was in that silence, he heard my voice, he heard my plea, he heard my desire, and simply allowed that to manifest. He gave that extraordinary sign that I was looking for which I had no clue what it was. I just said, give me something extraordinary. He did that. He's never done that ever again. Not at least in that manner. But he gave me that sign. So it is in the depths of silence. So when there is silence, what is the voice that we hear? Whose voice it is? Then where is the silence when there is voice? So that is like a riddle. but you have to maintain that silence. So it is that silence. To me, that silence is a synonym for absolute, unconditional, unqualified surrender, where you allow the higher energy to manifest whatever it is that has to be manifested, and you simply accept that manifestation, whatever it is. If an illness manifests in my life, I will accept it as there is a lesson here to learn. If something else, which is very good, manifests in my life, I'll accept that with the same spirit, saying there's a lesson here for me to learn. So once you're able to accept that, then you begin to understand the power of self-sacrifice. And all you're blessed with is peace, shanti. And it is that peaceful mind, is a shanti mind, where the best decisions are possible. You can never take decisions in your life when there is a tumultuous mind, when you're confused, when you're caught up in worries and anxieties, and when your fear is driving you to take a decision, or your insecurity is driving you to take a decision. Those decisions are never the right ones. You may win $1 million lottery, but still it cannot be the right one, because it's taken out of greed and insecurity. It only reinforces that insecurity and greed in you, because the decision was taken based on that. However, if any decision is taken on the bedrock of peace, then those decisions can never, ever be wrong, even if the outcome is not your desired outcome. But we need that energy and that courage to let go. And I'm sure as I tell this story, all of us here have something very similar that would have happened in our lives. When we tried something, it didn't work. When you say, you know what, I'm going to give up, and suddenly, boom, it's waiting around the corner. And you bump into it. It's like, wait a minute, how did that happen? I just gave up. I know people who have a very close relation. They struggled for having a child. They tried everything. 11 years later, they say, you know what, we give up. If God wants, let it happen. We give up. And out of the blue, this guy, somebody told him, why don't you chant Hanuman Chalisa? He said, yeah, why not? He's not a great devotee or something. He said, yeah, why not? Let me try that too. With no desire, he started Hanuman Chalisa, and boom, his wife conceived. Because there was no I there. There was no I there. There was no wanting there. There was no drama there. There was no static there. They said, let us do it. So, in a sense, detachment or disinterestedness, apparently, because the inner yearning is there. So even though he says, I don't know, okay, if you want to chant Hanuman Chalisa, I will do it for X number of days. If you want, I'll do it. I don't. But inner yearning is there for a child. Though it doesn't manifest outwardly as devotion, it doesn't really matter. But the fact that you're doing it without any craving and wanting, the manifestation happens automatically. And so that is the power of self-sacrifice. We should be ready to let go of the things that we value the most. Sometimes those are the ones that hinder our progress. We talked about it in the email story, where the email actually could have hindered this gentleman's progress in life. He could have been stuck as an office boy if he had clung to his I need an email account. There's another beautiful story of a philosopher. It's from a book, and I forget the name of the book now. He's walking with his disciples through a forest, and they are tired, so they come across a dilapidated home sitting on a very beautiful piece of property overlooking a cliff, overlooking the valley, on a cliff overlooking the valley. So it's a beautiful home, but then it's dilapidated, very old looking and broken down literally. And the philosopher says to his disciple, let's spend the night here. We are tired, so let's go in and find out whatever they have, we'll just share and spend the night there. So they go there and spend the night with this little family of 4, husband, wife, and 2 children. And the philosopher asks him, so you have such a beautiful place, why don't you build your house? And he says, no, what do? I really can't. I'm very, very poor. And all we have is one old cow, and we just milk her, and I go and try and sell that milk in the village, and I come back with little money, we buy some vegetables, and this is what we eat. With some leftover, we make milk for ourselves and yogurt or whatever it is, and we have that. So we just live a simple life. We are okay. We are content. And so the philosopher's disciple said, wow, these are great people. They really know contentment and their gratitude, and fantastic. The next day morning, the philosopher leaves the house, with his disciple. And as they are walking past, the Guru tells his disciple, we'll go there and spend the day. Tonight, what do you do? Just go around a little further down and spend the day there. Tonight, what do you do? You come back to the house, because the disciple is telling the Guru, they're so nice. Even if they had little food, they shared it with us. Please bless them. You should do something good for them. Don't just let them be like this. And so the Guru said, okay, we will do that. So what we will do is we'll spend the day nearby. Night you come back. You take the cow and push it over the cliff. The disciple says, what? Guruji, I want you to do something good for them. Please, Guru says, listen to what I tell you. Go and push the cow over the cliff. This is as the story presents. Now, pushing the cow over the cliff is a wild thought. I don't know why in the story that figured in. But this is exactly how the story is. Anyway, so that night, the disciple goes and does as the Guru ordered him, much to his, his conscience that was pricking him. And he says, oh my God, these people are depending on this cow, and you want to destroy the cow. What kind of gratitude are you showing to these people? Nevertheless, the heinous act was committed. He goes, and then after 3 years, as the story goes, they come back and visit the same place. And there is a beautiful bungalow. There's a lovely garden. And these two children are playing outside, little grown up, 3 years have passed. And then there is a couple. And this disciple can't believe. He says, is this the same family? Are they sold it? Did they die? How did they even survive? Because he was constantly plagued by that thought. What did we do? What did we do? Was my Guru right in what he did? So the Guru says, let's go inside. So he goes, and that man comes to greet him. He says, how come? What happened? He says, no, you remember couple of years ago when you all came? Yes, of course we do remember. Somehow after you all went, that night the cow got loose and it fell over the cliff and died. So we didn't know what to do. The only source of income was lost. And so I didn't know what else to do. So what I did was I went and cut the wood in my yard. Some trees, old trees were there. I made it logs, went and sold. And that space was free, so I said I'll grow some cotton so that I can stitch clothes for my children. Some leftover cotton I sold. And then I got some herbs and spices, planted a herb garden, then we sold that. And somehow in a couple of years we gathered, and today we are doing very well. And then the owner says, you know what, in a way, I shouldn't be saying this, but I'm glad that Providence killed that cow, because otherwise we wouldn't have been blessed with this. So we need to ask ourselves, which is the cow we need to push over the cliff in our lives? We all have a cow that we are clinging to in our lives. We need to push it over the cliff. We feel, oh my God, this will destroy my entire life. But no, that's the beauty of self-sacrifice. It's easy to contemplate. We should contemplate upon it, whether it's easy or hard. We should contemplate upon it. Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, Swami says, listen to something, contemplate on it, and then allow it to manifest in your life. Allow that concept to manifest in your life. That's the true learning. Otherwise, it just stays as an analysis. Right? Jiddu Krishnamurti says, analysis doesn't get you anywhere. It's practice. So this concept of self-sacrifice, though it may seem very abstract, it's actually a very powerful way to allow the higher self to manifest itself. So when you see in the path of the way Swami laid down these beautiful concepts of self-satisfaction, self-confidence, self-satisfaction, self-sacrifice, and the last one being self-realization, he didn't say you have to work towards it. It's almost like you practice this, each one presents itself to you automatically. All you have to do is let go, let go, let go of the little self that holds you back, the little cow that you have to hold back. That is what we need to figure out. We have problems in our life. There is no doubt about it. But what happens is if we don't look at it from this bedrock of peace and shanti, we don't look at it from the point of view of self-sacrifice, where let me get out of the equation and let's look at the problem. We rarely do that. We are right in the middle of that equation when we are looking at the problem. And that's for it is all about us and very little about the problem. There is something called parallel thinking, lateral thinking, where in true spirituality, you train yourself to think laterally, not logically or sequentially. You look at the whole vision as it presents itself. with no judgment. You allow it to present itself. You don't say, first this has to come, then that has to come, then that has to come. Because when you lay down logical sequences of how your life should come out for you, then you are limiting the infinite possibility, the possibility of infinite expressions. You're limiting it, correct? You just let it express itself. You look, and you choose one of those possibilities. That's how lucky we are. That's how divine we are. We can allow the universe to present infinite possibilities, and you can choose which one you want. Because Baba says you are God. You have the complete, unrestricted, unfettered freedom of spirit and unfettered freedom of expression. Here is how you could view a problem when you are in the middle of it and when you're out of it. Because what happens when a problem comes, we focus so much on the problem and say, oh my God, this is such a complicated problem. You need to have a computer to sort this out. Oh my gosh, we make such a big deal of the problem and we're not focused on the solution at all. We are describing how intense the problem is. And you see in the drama, in the TV series, we watch a serial called Shirdi Sai or Shri Sai, something like that we just started. And so there, out of the 25 minutes, forget all the ads, okay? 20 minutes of the TV program, about 15 minutes is about the bad guys. 5 minutes, Sai Baba comes and goes. It does a performance, a miracle, and goes. I'm like, why are you focusing 15 minutes on this bad guy whose eyebrows go up, and there is music, and this guy is planning and plotting against Baba? I'm like, how much we focus on the negative emotion because there is drama there. We like that. So we tend to focus on the problem, and therefore the problem seems big and unsolvable. So here it's like a riddle. We have time till 8:15. Okay, so we do have time. So here is a riddle of a Chinese moneylender in a remote village in China has apparently lent a lot of money to a poor man and his daughter. Of course, the daughter has to be beautiful, and she's unmarried. And so one day he comes to the village and demands his money back. And the poor man has no money. And this is an evil moneylender who exploits people like this. So the moneylender comes to this man and says, give my money back. He says, I don't have the money. And so the village gathers to listen to this evil moneylender. And he says, okay, I'm in a good mood. I'll give you a choice. I will pose a riddle for you. He looks, it's a riverbed. He says, there are black pebbles and white pebbles. I'll pick up 2 pebbles, one black, one white. I'll hold it in my hand. If you guess which is the black pebble correctly, I will forgive you of all your debt. If you refuse to guess, then you have to come with me. If you guess wrong, you have to give me your daughter. I'll take her home. And then he bends down and very cunningly, because he has to guess a black pebble, very cunningly distracts the attention of everyone, and he picks up 2 white pebbles. He holds one in each hand. This young daughter notices that. And she has choices now in front of her. Once she can expose a moneylender, says he's cheating. But who will get to lose? Her father is the one who owes the money. He'll say, okay, I cheated, so let your father come with me, I'm going to imprison him, right? So that wasn't really a choice. You can't really expose that moneylender, because that's not going to save my father. He's going to get him more into trouble. So how about I guess the wrong pebble and I just go with him? I just go with him. And so I will sacrifice my life for my dad. Let him be happy. I will go with the moneylender. Let him forget. So all these thoughts could also be there's another choice. And the third choice is to refuse participating, which again is not a healthy choice. So she's almost left with no choices. How would she solve this problem? The problem is thrown open to us. If you were in that girl's place, how would you solve this problem? What would you do to get away? Is there a solution where they can get out of this and yet free the dad? It seems almost impossible. And yet she did it. How did she do it? The inner meaning of this is when you look at a problem, you don't look at how intense the problem is. That becomes too dramatic for us. Oh my gosh, my father is in trouble. This moneylender is there. He's cheating everybody. Oh my God, what am I going to do? He's such an evil man. I can build a whole problem into an even bigger problem than it seems, with very little energy left for, okay, how do I solve this situation right now? Correct? And I'm sure many of you are scratching your head. Even if you had the answer, you can't speak because a silent retreat. So you're scratching and I said, I wonder how this could be solved. Sometimes life puts us in this situation, just like we mentioned yesterday about the railway tracks. We never know what is the right decision. We're always in a quandary sometimes. And so, what this lady does, this young girl, clever and intelligent as she is, calm as she is, views this issue. She goes to the moneylender and she says, it is your left hand that has the black pebble. Moneylender is very happy. He says, yes, really? Here, take it. And then she takes the pebble and, oops, I dropped it. I'm so sorry. Oh gosh, now the pebble is gone. If there is a white pebble in your right hand, then this must be the black pebble that fell. You see? How come that solution presented itself? Something which we wouldn't have seen if we are focusing on a problem. There is always, to me, when I read these kind of koans and riddles, I always think there is always a solution to every situation in life. There is a solution, period. That's the beauty of why the problem is in our lives at that moment. The challenge is to discover and allow that solution to manifest itself. That's the beauty. Therein lies the miracle. Therein lies the leela. Therein lies the manifestation of your inner spirit as you allow it to guide you. But we stop it because we are afraid and we are consumed by our fear. We're consumed by our fear. What if this happens? What if that happens? I was consumed by fear when I sat in that portico there saying, what if Swami completely ignores me? What happened to my 3 days of sadhana? What happens to all that? I was consumed by me and what I did and what I'm supposed to do. I was so full of myself, there was no room for God to come anywhere close. But when I let go, whatever I wanted manifested itself right there. It's the most fascinating and learning lesson. And it's not like once you learn in life, it's never, and like, okay, I got it. Now I'll run my life. You can, but then another situation comes with its own uniqueness, and the lesson comes back all over again, repeats itself, and shows you this is all you need to do. Let go. Let go. And which is why Swami says, surrendering to Swami is the most important thing. Not because he wants to sit on a throne and decide your fate. It's not like that. He says, when you surrender, you're actually surrendering your limitedness, your ego and your fear and your conditioned mind. Saying, you decide for me. And when you let go, the energy takes over, your higher self takes over and manifests whatever it has for you. There is another riddle. There is a village, and the village headman has 19 horses. He has 19 horses. And on his deathbed, he says, I have only a few days to live. I'm going to write my will and distribute these horses for the village. And he dies a few days later. His family opens his will and reads the will, and to their utter dismay, they cannot make out head or tail of what he has written in that will. About the horses. The rest of it was clear, perhaps. They couldn't understand. What was written in that will was, here are my 19 horses. Half of these horses will go to my son. 1/4 of these horses will go to these friends of mine. And 1/5 will go to the village temple. And the villagers kept looking at the will. They said, that's why we should not let them write their will just before they die. They don't know what they're writing. I'm kidding. They couldn't make out what was written. What do you mean by half? Let's say for the first step, you are looking at 19 horses. What do you mean by take half? How do you solve this problem? Once again, we look at the problem and say, wait a minute, we focus on the problem. 19 horses. Half of 19 goes to his son. 1/4 goes to his friends. 1/5 goes to the village temple. How? We are focused on how impossible the situation is that we don't look at a solution. Right? So they go to this saint who is living just on the outskirts of the village. They tell him, if there is anybody wise, it must be you, because we went to every single person in the village. We cannot solve this. Please, do you know, is there any sense in what he says? Or should we take a counsel, a decision as to how to go about it? So the wise man looks at the will and he says, oh, this can be done. You gather the 19 horses tomorrow. I'll come and help you distribute it. So the villagers are very happy. They go back, they gather all the 19 horses the next morning. Everyone is eager and excited, just like you are. So how is this going to be resolved? So the wise man comes along in his old horse. He gets down and he puts his horse along the 19 horses. He says, okay, so let's read the will. What was said in the will? He said, half of it should go to the son. He said, okay, I put my horse, now there is 20. Can you make half of 20? He said, yes. So 10. Son, you take the 10 horses. And then what else was left? He said, 1/5 was to go to the village temple. Okay? 1/5 of 20 is what? 4. So take 4 horses. Village priest, please take your 4 horses. 10 plus 4, 14. And then what else? He says 1/4 should go to my friends. 1/4 of 20 is 5. So there's 5 horses. You take your friends. All of you 5 people take your horses. 10 plus 4 plus 5, 19. The wise man said, please allow me to take leave. He sat on his horse and he went back. So when we add the 20th horse to our 19th problem, suddenly the problem gets resolved. So again, just like we had to push the cow in our lives, we need to ask ourselves, what is my 20th horse? Where is my 20th horse that can suddenly solve all the problems in my life? All it takes is that little thing that suddenly makes, wow, the solution is right there. Swami would say that the greatest things that you achieve are known by the smallest things that you do. And this is what inspired me again when I was in Swami's room. There's little things that he did for every individual. Every individual, the little thing that he did. He was completely happy with that devotee in front of him. He would give him all his love. He wouldn't say, I'm waiting for the big guys to come while I'll just deal with you for now. There wasn't that. He was happy to see this person coming. He would give him all his love, and then more will come. And he would give more love. The little things. A few days before Swami's birthday in 1990, before the World Conference, we had this drama practice, and we had put up this skit, and that was supposed to be played the day before Swami's birthday. So he comes to see the rehearsal a couple of days before this entire program is taking off. So he comes, sees the rehearsal, and as he's getting into the car, I was standing by the car just in case Swami had some last-minute instructions about light or something. He would always say, that song, don't put that song, or don't do this scene, or do this. Something he would say if he wanted to. So I made myself available, and I was standing by the car. So Swami finished the rehearsal. I had run and stood by the car just in case, because I know we won't get to see Swami. 2 days later is the World Conference and the inauguration and everything. So we were there. And as Swami was getting into the car, he noticed that there was a little tear on my shirt. Even I had kind of ignored it. It was a little hole there. And so he poked his finger. He said, "Yem try idi, chi, buddhi ledu," or something like that. He just muttered, and he poked and made fun of me and got into the car. So for one, I was relieved that he had nothing major changes, because we had practiced, and last minute we don't want any more changes. So I was relieved. The other fact, I was also happy that Swami spoke to me and took time to make fun. So I knew everything is fine. Swami is happy. The play is going. I'm looking at it from that point of view. I gave it no single thought that my shirt was torn. I looked at it and said, okay. The next day morning, we were sitting for darshan, and Baba opens the door. He comes out with a brown envelope, a brown cover in his hand, rolled up. He comes out, he steps into the bhajan hall, and this is the day before his birthday. I think the morning of our convocation day, or a day before. It's just the whole place is packed with VIPs and people. There's really no time for anything as to what happened that morning. He comes out and he says, "Iyer ekkada?" Iyer. He always called me Iyer. And so I was sitting at the back. I ran across to Swami, and Swami just flung that packet at me. And chokka means cloth, right? And chokka undi, konjam manchi shirt techuko, something like that. He said in Telugu and went away. And I couldn't figure out what chokka. What do you mean chokka? For the drama, he's given something. I opened it, and there was a white shirt piece, a cloth to stitch a white shirt. And then it struck me. It was that little hole that he saw the day before. He had to take care of that. That must have bothered him. And because I was in Swami's room, I knew what this would have meant. It would have meant that he remembered, he picked up a piece of cloth, put it in a brown envelope, brought it all the way down to give. And who am I to do that? I was a nobody in that crowd. It wasn't like I was naked and hungry on the streets or something like that. It's just a little hole. He can take care of that after the birthday. But that a little thing, Anoraniyan Mahato Mahiya, the Vedas say, divinity expresses itself in the tiniest of tiny acts and in the most magnificent acts. In both, there is divinity. And Baba portrayed that every day of his life. The smallest things, it would reflect his divinity, his sense of perfection, his sense of love. And he would be handling huge projects, talking to the richest people or the VIPs or the scientists and engineers, whoever you have, planning conferences and events at that level. And yet he wouldn't lose sight of that one boy who would be sick in the hostel or one person who needed help. That is the beauty of Swami. Once, again, one of these the earlier days when I was new to Swami and I was in his room, Swami one day called me. He gave me an envelope. He said, there's money in this. Go to W3, C floor, go all the way to the end. There is so-and-so person. Go give him this money. I said, okay, Swami. So I go all the way. Swami is given instructions, so I have to go. So I went all the way, went to the sea floor. And I go there asking the person by name, because I knew Swami said go to the end of the corridor, but I still wanted to make sure he's not somewhere else. Because in my mind, going, how does he know he's living in the end of the corridor? So I kept asking, and lo and behold, he was actually in the end of the corridor. But they were packing and ready to leave. And that time I could relate to why Swami said, "Ippude po, tondaraga, go now, go, give it and come." So I went, and I caught them. They are packing. This father and daughter are packing to leave that place. So I said, are you so and so? He said, yes. I said, Baba has wanted me to give this to you. He said, Baba has given? Na kosam ichada. Aunandi, take it. So he opened it. He picked up the bundle of notes, and he saw that, and he started crying. And he told his daughter, look at this. Look at what he did. And then I couldn't understand. And I asked him, why? And he said, Babu, you don't understand. I was Swami's childhood friend, and my daughter had to get married. I had no money. Somebody told me, your friend Sai Baba has become so rich, go ask him. And so he said, I waited for a week. And Sai Baba was so far out, I couldn't even see him. I went and tried to speak to the authorities. Nobody would even care for me. Because you can't, it's like a beggar, right? Going and can Baba give me some money for my daughter's wedding? So he said, I gave up. I said, this Baba is not my friend, not my childhood friend, Baba. And so he was about to leave. These little acts of Swami was not under camera. These little acts of love, though it portrayed omniscience on the one side, because how would Swami know his friend has come? He probably spotted him in that crowd. First of all, spotting in that crowd is huge, a big thing by itself. How did he know why he came for, whether he needed money, what it was? And how did he time it so perfectly that that person was pushed to the edge of the cliff, and he probably gave up praying. He said, I'm letting go, and boom. For him, that was a manifestation happening in his life, so beautifully orchestrated. All that being said at a divine, omniscient level, there was a simple love that was taking place at the same time, a personal touch. That was so beautiful. So even in this magnanimous display of affection and love, was that personal relationship was guarded. He didn't declare, I am God, look, I can know everybody's feeling. You want your daughter married, here, take the money. He didn't do that. It was a very simple, quiet, unobtrusive, unassuming act of divine love for that person alone. That is why I keep saying, in that humanness of Swami lay his divinity. He was so human. And that's why he became so divine. He was human because he didn't share any of the animal instincts like fear didn't drive him in his acts. We are also human, but most of us are consumed by all these instincts from the animals. Vivekananda says, animals are born and they die, trees are born and they die, humans are born and they die. So what is the difference in your life? What are you doing so different that you are not one more animal that is being born and dying? What makes you stand out? What makes you different? So with Swami portrayed in that humanness, he could be selfless. In that being a human, he could show complete unconditional love and acceptance. In that being a human, he showed fearlessness. He displayed self-confidence of the highest order. And in that human body, he shows how the infinite cosmic energy can manifest itself. That was the power of Sai Baba. The miracles and his creations and his manifestations, those are all expressions of a divine energy that is bound to happen. He would always say, those are my visiting cards, ignore it. He never sat with us as students, and we have so many students, each one of them can verify. And he never sat with us and boasted of his powers. It was an act of spontaneous love. He felt like giving something at that moment, something manifested in his hand, and he would give it. That's it. If there's a boy sincerely seeking faith, his mind was doubtful. I know one of our known brothers, he said the story himself. I was part of that group, and I heard it many years later. His story was he doubted, and he was wondering, how could Sai Baba wave his hand and create? He has to hide it somewhere in his hand, because his rational mind just can't accept it. Because if you accept it, then your life changes completely. And there he said, I want to see him materialize something which is unique, which he cannot hide in his hand. So here we are in this music group. Sai Baba rolls his sleeves, and for this boy, he brings his palm together, and out comes hot laddus filled with ghee. And Swami gave him, and Swami's hand was full of ghee. And he asked for a handkerchief to wipe. At that moment, because this boy was sitting and saying, I wish Swami can prove it to me right now. And he got that proof right there. And so he says the story. He says, there is no way that this could have happened unless this was a lesson for me to say, this is it. Don't ask anymore. You wanted it, I gave it to you. So even for me, the very first time I was in the interview, I said, I really want to see how he creates. And every time I seem to miss it, somebody's head comes in the way or something. This was very, very early. So he comes right up to me, and in front of my eyes, he rolls up his sleeve, and he puts his hand in front of my face like this, rotates. And all this I'm saying, doubting Thomas. And he closes his hand, and he opens it. There's a silver medallion. He says, keep it, and he puts it in my hand. He says, from today, I will be your Sarathi. And that was a beautiful moment for me. And that is the day when he called me inside and says, what do you want? I said, I want to be in your room, and so on and so forth. So that act of materialization was not an act of showmanship. Nobody who knows Sai Baba will claim to do that. Nobody, as students especially, who saw him, it was an instant, spontaneous act of love done at that moment and forgotten right there from his point of view. It was just something, it just happened. Because for this person whose consciousness is one with the entire creation, I mean, what is to wave your hand and materialize something made of 5 elements? Nothing. So that to me was the least interested feature of Swami, or personality trait of Swami. It had some curiosity to some extent, and it quickly got sorted out. I said, okay, I'm not interested in that. But what really impressed me with that amount of accessibility to divine energies, he still lived a life of being a regular human being. Set an example for us as to how you can be a regular human being. And later on, he fell down and he broke his hip, saying that I'm like you. I can be as fragile as you. I can hurt myself just like you can. And look what I am doing sitting on the wheelchair. His mission took up grew up tenfold faster and bigger when he was in the wheelchair than when he walked. Just to prove a point. To prove a point that I could be on the wheelchair. If you think, oh, he's Baba, he's looking gorgeous, he's walking around, he's slim, he's great, he's good looking. So all right, boom, I'm on the wheelchair. How many of us could have our lives devastated if we are on a wheelchair? Right? to Sai Baba especially, who's claimed he is God, he would say, oh my gosh, now I said I'm God, now I'm on a wheelchair. What about my brand? Nothing fazed him because he didn't come from that. He never operated from that sense of insecurity or fear. This is how it has to be. This is how it has to be done, because posterity will realize the value of how I set an example. Sitting on the wheelchair, I did things which you have your 2 feet and 2 hands and a healthy, hearty body, you are complaining about doing. Those are the lessons that we need to take home. Those are the lessons that help us build self-confidence, help us experience self-satisfaction, help us receive this gift of self-sacrifice. Because to me, that self-sacrifice is a gift. It comes as a grace. You have to receive it. You can't, like I said, you can't consciously do it and say, yeah, I know how to do self-sacrifice. You don't know. The fact that you are there, you don't. We have to let go of the very things that help build us where we are. We love bhajans, we practice singing, we've got a wonderful voice and we can sing beautifully, but after that bhajan, you have to let go of that voice and take off what the bhajan means. But we cling on to the voice. How did I sing? Oh my gosh, I had to make my voice better. So now we are here. The very thing that built us for the next level, we are clinging on to it. We have to let go. We tie those, when you go to swimming, what is it that you floats, right? You tie it, when there's little kids, you see them learning how to swim, they tie those floats and they learn how to swim. Without those floats, it's dangerous for a child to be in the water. So they need the float to help them swim. But guess what? After a while, when they're ready to swim, what happens? They have to let go of those very floats that kept them from drowning. But it doesn't make sense. No, but that is a float in the very first place that helped him stay afloat. Why do you give that up? No, unless you give that up, you cannot go to the next level. So you have to sacrifice and constantly be ready to reinvent yourself. I am here, all right, let go, and then I can go to the next step. In a beautiful book, the author says, and I'll paraphrase this, from supplication, I'll end with that. From supplication, we are in a short time led to the object of supplication. And through gradual, intimate converse, we gradually obtain the divine perfection instead of our own imbecility and imperfection. And the author goes to say that when you attain this level of perfection, you will be higher than the greatest heights in that perfection, lower than the greatest depths in the deepest foundations of that understanding. You will be an integral part of creation, at once begotten, young, old, self-existent, immortal. Today, your feet will stand, which yesterday, while gauging the august nature of work, your eyes could scarcely see. But you're there today, in that very place. And tomorrow, hidden among the clouds, is your next day resting place. This is how we have to constantly reinvent ourselves. We cannot say, okay, I'm done, I'm there. If our true nature is infinite, then how do you say I'm already there? It's constantly in the making. You are constantly in the making. Every time made to better and better and better, wider, bigger, the consciousness keeps expanding with every time you're remade. And so that allowing yourself to be remade, allowing the caterpillar to die every time, and allowing the butterfly to come out, allowing the gold to go back into the fire so that the jeweler can make an even better chain. And then he says, this chain is beautiful. It comes back to him. Let's put it into the fire. I've got a brilliant idea what I can do with this now. Goes back and makes an even beautiful chain. And then he puts that back into the fire. So that process goes on, but every time he brings out, there is an even more beautiful you that you get to see. And your heart opens in gratitude. And you begin to say, thank you, Lord. Thank you. Thank you for making me a part of this wonderful Leela. And then you begin to enjoy the dance of this creation, the dance of Nataraja. Sai Ram.